Does Canada make sense anymore? This is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So if you're interested, then stay tuned and keep on watching. It's been a minute since I've sat down with you guys and spoken about Canada. If you guys have been following me since I initially immigrated to Canada in 2020, then you know I came as an international student and transitioned to a permanent resident. But in between all of that, I've had a lot of things and thoughts about Canada as a country, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, everything. I've always tried to be like very honest with you guys about how I feel about Canada, because I know that a lot of you who are watching me want to migrate to Canada as well, and there are a lot of persons that have reached out to me over the years, and I've given them, I'm not an immigration consultant, let's just put that out there, or any kind of immigration anything, but I have, you know, based on my experience, been able to give persons some solid advice based on my own experience. What gives me the authority to even talk about whether Canada makes sense, yes or no? It's just the fact that I've been here for 5 years almost 5 years, and everything that I've done with respect to migrating to Canada, I've done on my own. Everything was DIY, from my very first initial study permit application straight back to my permanent resident application, all of which were approved. So I've been here for 5 years and a lot has happened, and I feel like within the past year so many things have happened, so many changes have happened, and I wanted us to talk about it today because I want you guys to think about, you guys meaning persons that are watching that still want to migrate to Canada. I want you guys to think about some of the changes that the Canadian government has implemented over the past year and how it could potentially affect you as a person wanting to come, or affect persons that are already here. So with that being said, let's just get into some statistics and just some information about some of the things that has happened. So I have my phone here with some notes just so that I don't forget anything. But over the past year, Canada has implemented significant changes in its immigration policies, and this has been aimed at reducing the number of immigrants coming into the country. So right there off the bat, you already know that if you are coming, then you're coming at a wrong time. You're coming at a time when Canada does not want more people. They're actually trying to get less people into the country, and we're going to get into why a little bit later. So one of the first things that the government has done is to reduce their permanent resident targets for the year. So previously their target for 2025 was 485,000 permanent residents. However, they have now reduced that to 395,000. For 2026, it was 500,000. They have since reduced that to 380, and in 2027, 365,000 admissions. So that's a big thing. It's saying that we don't want any more permanent residents here. It means that they are making the process and the eligibility to become a permanent resident more difficult. Even if you're already in Canada as a temporary resident, your chances of getting permanent residence is going to be less than it used to be because of the fact that they're trying to cut back. And some of the things that they have done since then is basically made the process more difficult. They have been giving French speakers a lot more points over persons that only speak English. And if you are currently in the pool, you know that the points are over like 500 now, and it has been over 500 since about last year August. I want to say, I haven't been, you know, super in tune to those the draws, but it has been steadily over 500, like 540, 550 since last year. And if you know, when I applied as a permanent resident, my points was 519. So if me being in the pool now with those points, I would not have gotten an invitation to apply. And this is with having previous work experience from back home, education back home, coming to Canada, being a student, and also working for a year. All of that, and getting really good English language scores. And even with all of that, for 519 points, it would not at this point giving me an invitation to apply. So they're making the process a lot more difficult, and I know that there is no sort of like a new eligibility requirement with respect to like the work categories. Less working categories are eligible for permanent residence than before. So bear that in mind. The fact that they're cutting down on the permanent residence intake means that the eligibility to become a permanent resident has increased. It's just becoming a lot more difficult. So in addition to that, they have also put caps on temporary residents, and this is a big one because I feel like this is where a lot of the changes were made. Temporary residents including temporary foreign workers and international students. So for international students in 2024, they put January of 2024, they put a 360,000 cap. Prior to that, there was never a cap, at least none that was publicized for international students. So now they've put a cap on international students. Which, what does this really mean? It means that even if you had the perfect application and submitted it, it means that the visa officer could potentially just deny your application just based off of the fact that they've reached their limit in terms of how many persons they want to admit for. You know, maybe they have daily caps, weekly caps, monthly caps, whatever, but you could have the perfect application and they still deny it because of the fact that they have a cap put in place. Now requiring applicants to submit a provincial attestation letter as a part of their study permit applications. That was something that was new, and I did not have to do that when I submitted mine. In addition to that, you are now being required to have at least 20,000 Canadian dollars worth of living expenses, not including your school fee. When I applied, you only needed around $10,000 for one person, a single individual, and your school fee. So that's a significant difference. It means that you need to have more money in the bank before you apply in order to be eligible to get the study permit. Another big thing that they have done is to limit the subject areas that you are able to study that will allow you to get permanent residence. So your typical study areas like HR, business management courses, those are normal courses that people usually go ahead and study to, you know, just as a easy entry into Canada, into a school in Canada, and, you know, further to get PR. They have cut that out now, and they're only allowing specific like study areas relating to agriculture, relating to tech, and just relating to specific areas that Canada needs workers. So if you're not studying that part in that particular area, then the likelihood of you getting your study permit application approved is going to be really low. Something else that they have been doing with respect to the study permit applications and international students, before, if you were studying and you wanted to bring your spouse with you, your spouse would automatically get an open work permit. So it means that you as a student could go to work, and your spouse, you as a student would go to school, and then your spouse would get open work permit and work, and they'll be able to live here. So their stay is contingent on you, you know, studying and all of that. Now that is no longer the case. You're not able to they're not providing open spousal work permits for persons that are studying. So if you come, best believe you come by yourself, because persons, they're just not allowing that anymore, and it's just a part of the bigger picture of reducing the amount of persons coming into Canada. There are some of the changes that they have implemented, and I feel like there's a lot more. No, I know there's a lot more changes. I'm just not privy to them because I'm not in tune. And again, I'm not an immigration consultant or lawyer. If you guys want information about all of the changes that have been taking place, then feel free to, you know, just do your research and look into all of those things. So with that being said, I wanted to go into a little bit of why they are making these changes. Is it warranted? Does it make sense? And does it also make sense for you who are watching to still pursue Canada as a country that you want to come to and live? Some of the reasons why the government have implemented all of these changes with respect to the immigration caps and the reduction of permanent residents in the country. So one of that is housing shortages. I've spoken about the housing situation here several times, and it's still the same. Nothing has changed. So the government has acknowledged that there has just been a rapid increase in the population growth, and as a result there is a huge demand for housing. And we've had an issue with housing from before there was like a major influx of immigrants in the country. So you can imagine the population has increased, a lot of persons are coming to the hub, which is Ontario, and in the Toronto area. Granted, a lot of persons have also been going to Alberta and BC, and those cities have also been complaining about housing shortages as well. So it's just a lot of people, not enough housing. So what that is doing is driving up the cost of housing. And right now the average one bedroom in Toronto is going for $2,200, and that's really expensive. But it's actually come down a bit from around $2,500, I believe, and we're talking about a one bedroom 500 square feet apartment. That's what we're talking about. So that's a lot of money, and compared to the wages here, it's just too much for persons to be able to afford. So that's one of the big things, housing shortages. It's just too much people, not enough houses, and having a high demand for housing, it is driving up the prices, and people can't afford the rent or afford to buy. Another reason the government decided to do this is the strain on public resources, including healthcare and other public services. You had a lot of international students that were going to the food banks to get food, even though they are supposed to come with enough money to be able to maintain themselves here in Canada and live here in Canada. They were basically abusing the system, and they were even making videos about abusing the system, which it's crazy to me. But that's one of the reasons why, you know, they decided to cut back as well. There was just a lot of strain, and the healthcare in Canada, as much as it is free, it is not the best in terms of quality, and there has been an influx of persons in the country. So you can imagine that the healthcare system has been burdened a lot. A third thing is obviously like public pressure. The government have seen the outcry of the people on social media and just like in general, and have decided this was the best route to cut back. And unfortunately, I believe personally that they did this a little bit too late in the game, because the damage has already been done. The persons are already here, and unfortunately for the persons that are here, because of the caps that they've put on, and the limits on eligibility requirements for PR, a lot of persons are sitting with work permits that are about to expire or have expired, with no avenue, no opportunity to become a permanent resident. So that means that all of the money that they spent in coming to Canada, all of the time, all of the energy, was all for naught, because no, they can't stay, they have to go back. And that's one of the things that like I feel really bad about, because I can put myself in their shoes, considering that I was once an international student, I was once on a work permit as well, and it was just a matter of timing that I didn't get caught up in this whole mess. So it's very, very unfortunate. But the government at the end of the day invited too many persons. Our infrastructure just could not bear it. The demographic of Canada has changed significantly, if you know what I'm talking about, significantly. So there's a huge percentage of a certain type of demographic, and a lot of persons were complaining about that because of their behavior, you know. And how they go about doing certain things. The crime rates have increased. There's a lot more incidences of crime before. So Canada, the whole landscape of Canada has been changing significantly. So with that being said, the point that I'm trying to make, or the question that I want you guys to think about is Canada worth it? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your money? Is it worth you leaving your home country, the comfort of your home, leaving your family behind to come here in this current climate? And to that I say it's not. I genuinely do not believe it is worth coming to Canada anymore, not in 2025. Things have to change drastically. There are a lot of things that are going on politically as well, not just in Canada but between Canada and the US. If you guys have been, keeping abreast of some of the things that have been happening between Canada and the US, trade wars, things are very dicey right now. I'm not gonna lie, things are very dicey right now, and I genuinely do not recommend migrating to Canada in this climate, unless of course like you have your family here and this is something that you've planned for a very long time. It really depends on your situation on a case-by-case basis. But if you're like how I was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, thinking, oh, like I just want to move, I want to change, I was in a good job, like I was happy, but I just wanted to leave and experience somewhere else and get more opportunities. Don't do it. The opportunities here the job market is not what it used to be. That's for sure. It's oversaturated, and you won't be able to get what you think that you're coming to get, if that makes sense. It's just overrun. We're oversaturated. There's no housing, there's no good housing. The cost of living is very high. Grocery prices are through the roof. And what can I say? I really hope that I would have something good to say the next time I came to talk about Canada, because I try not to. But that's just the situation. This is my honest opinion about what is happening now in Canada, and I genuinely do not believe it makes any sense to come to Canada in 2025. Hold off. 100% hold off. So yeah guys, so I really hope this video was informative. This is just like my little tidbit. I wanted to just give you guys a rundown of what has been happening. If you're not aware, let me know in the comments down below if you were thinking about moving to Canada, and what your plans are, considering all of the changes that they have implemented and how difficult now it is. In addition to that, I forgot one of the also major changes that they did is to stop multiple entry visas. So they're not giving you 10-year visitors visa anymore. It's single entry, unless you can give them a reason as to why you need to be coming to Canada multiple times. So that's big. And it says a lot about what they want, what they're looking for. They're genuinely trying to stem the inflow of persons coming, and as such it's not a great time for sure. So thank you guys for watching this video, and again, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.